Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard. Live today, Championship Monday, downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. This show is brought to you by DraftKings, and what a shocking development late last night in college basketball as John Calipari has taken the Arkansas job. No joke, 5 years out at Kentucky. On the day of the national title game, this story has overtaken the matchup, and we have 2 1 seeds playing, by the way, tonight, and 2 of the best 3 teams in college basketball all year long. And John Clay, what a week this is going to be in Lexington. Very busy man, joins us from the Herald Leader in that great city this morning on the Progressive Guest Line. John, thanks so much for the time today.
Thanks for having me on.
Can you take us through the timeline, I guess, yesterday? Because we were just in Phoenix and the Scottsdale area broadcasting on Saturday for the Final Four. Not a peep of this, no word. And then like the timeline last night, when you first heard about it, and did you think, this is not real, this is a joke? And then maybe a couple of hours later, you were thinking, oh my God, this is actually going to happen.
I got a call from Bob Holt, a longtime Arkansas beat writer for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I got a call from Bob yesterday afternoon saying, it's hard to believe, but it's really picking up steam in Arkansas here in Fayetteville that it might be serious that Calipari is interested in the Arkansas job, that there's talks going on back and forth. And then it got to the point where, and I thought, wow, that seems like a long shot. And there were times last night we thought, well, they're talking, but are they really going to do anything? And I think it all goes back to, as Bob told me, John Tyson, the head of Tyson Foods, is a longtime friend of Cal's. Whenever Kentucky played at Arkansas, Cal would usually have dinner with Mr. Tyson, and that John Tyson was talking to Cal and promising him in full support and millions of dollars if he came to Arkansas to help him with getting recruits and with NIL money and that sort of thing. And then, but even then, I thought, I don't know, would John really leave Kentucky to go to Arkansas? But then overnight, apparently it got really serious on both sides. And as you guys said, it sure looks like he's going to be the next coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks.
The chain of events, too, they got this situation to happen is nuts to me, with even Enfield leaving and then Musselman leaving. Did Beard and Tang also say no to the job? Were they offered the job, too, and both declined?
Well, I mean, you'd have to talk to the Arkansas people about that. I mean, that was the talk anyway, that was going on. I don't know. I guess it goes back to how long ago did John Tyson talk to Cal about, hey, would you be interested in coming to Arkansas? I don't know. And then you got AD and school administration, how many those people working together. But John Calipari has always had relationships wherever he's been with he loves corporate leaders. He talks a lot about that. He's had longstanding relationships with the big money people. He had the same thing in Memphis with the Smith family, the head of Federal Express. Here in Kentucky, Joe Kraft, who's a big coal guy here in Kentucky, has been a longtime supporter and friend of John Calipari. I mean, he kind of cultivates those relationships. So I think the Tyson and when Bob told me that John Tyson was behind this and was a big player in this thing, that's what they were hearing. That made me think, well, maybe there is something to this.
Very good. Fantastic insight. Excellent. How frosty was the relationship in the last few years? And did he realize the writing was on the wall, that he was coaching for his job the next year?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, I think as far as the relationship goes, his first 5-6 years here, really maybe even his first 10 years here, or it's going to be hard to match. It's going to be hard to whoever his successor is to match those.
Oh yeah,
especially the years of 2010 through 2015. But the last 4 or 5 years have definitely been a downturn. They lost the number 15 seed St. Peter's 2 years ago in the NCAA tournament in the first round. They lost this year to Oakland, a number 14 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And Cal has said this himself. I mean, for Kentucky basketball, it's all about March. They want to win in the regular season. They want to win the SEC title. But what they really want is to hang banners in Rupp Arena, and they want that number 9 banner. And Cal he's not even had them in the conversation for that the last few years. I mean, they went 9-16 in the COVID season of 21. They were a number 2 seed in 2022, but they lost to St. Peter's. They were number 6 seed 2 years ago, lost to Kansas State in the second round, and then this year they lose to number 14 seed Oakland. So the fans here, were not happy with Cal. A lot of them were probably celebrating. A friend of mine just joked to me this morning, and there's a total eclipse going on here. So it's going to get dark. And then when it gets light, Calipari will be in Fayetteville. So, a lot of them are very happy to see him go. They were ready to move on to the next coach.
Are some saying, look, we better be careful what we wish for here?
Well, I think there are a lot of people who they may not be in the majority, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be really hard to match what Calipari did the first few years. And Cal, I think, got stubborn. He stuck to the formula of number one recruiting classes, one and done philosophy, which the fans here have never really even liked, even when they were winning. They think that Cal should be he works for UK, not the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's going to be hard, and the program here needs to make some changes with facilities and support of that sort of thing as well. So it's not, just because you're changing coaches at Kentucky doesn't mean you're automatically going to go back up to the top tier and be playing in the Final Fours every year. They got to make the right choice. And I think they need to make some changes here as well as far as support and program and how they approach things too. It's going to be a combination of the two. But those first few years of Cal's first few years are really going to be hard to match.
Yep, totally agree. Follow the money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, longtime columnist for the Lexington Herald Leader, John Clay, with us here on the Progressive Guest Line. In a situation like this, John, personally, like I'm a big believer in you take every shot imaginable, right? You're not afraid to pick up the phone. You got to have the conversation. I think they wait until the game is over with tonight to call Dan Hurley and talk to his reps and to him. Is that a possibility, or is that kind of wishful thinking on the Kentucky side?
No, I think they'll swing for the fences. I think Dan Hurley. Of course, the name you always hear is Billy Donovan. Billy was an assistant here under Pitino. You obviously went back-to-back championships at Florida. Has been in the NBA for a while. I wonder where, I've always heard through the past few years that Billy really had no interest in returning to college basketball, maybe even less so now with the landscape the way it is. But yeah, Hurley, I think Nate Oates, personally, I would make Dan Hurley and Nate Oates, those two guys tell me no. There's always been talk here that if Cal left or if Cal would leave, that Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director here, is really high on Scott Drew, is friends with Scott from back when Mitch was the head of the NCAA tournament selection committee, the year that Baylor won the national championship, that Scott Drew would be in play. I mean, you're going to hear those types of names. Some people are bringing up it's time to bring Pitino back, bring Rick Pitino back. I can't see that happening. But I do think that Kentucky I think they will definitely try to swing for the fences, yes.
And they are handed this gift, right? Because the buyout was over $30 million. So now they can throw $8, $9, $10 million a year at whoever they want.
That's right. And Cal did not have a buyout. He doesn't owe Kentucky a dime. That was in the lifetime contract, as they called it at the time for Cal. He's supposed to be an ambassador for UK after he retired. I think this probably changes that. But yeah, right. I mean, there were a lot of people, who believed that if it wasn't for the $33 million buyout, that Cal, there would have been a separation between the two parties before now, that Kentucky would have forced them out. I mean, it's a little reminiscent, not quite the same as when Tubby Smith left. Tubby Smith won a national championship at Kentucky in 1998, went to 3 Elite Eights. But the last 2 or 3 years, they were really going downhill, did not have any kind of NCAA tournament success. And there was a lot of pressure on Tubby, and there was a lot of pressure from the administration to do something about Tubby. The next thing you know, Tubby Smith had left to go to Minnesota to be the coach of the Golden Gophers. This is a little different than that, but it's kind of the same scenario with Cal. So it's the best interest of both parties for there to be a separation. I think that's what's happened here. But from a financial aspect, you're right. Calipari is gone, and Kentucky didn't have to pay a cent for him to leave.
John, do they talk to Jay Wright?
I think they'll probably, I think Jay Wright would be on that list of when you're trying to hit a home run. But I don't think, from everything I've heard and from people that know Jay well, he doesn't have any interest in going back. He likes what he's doing, and he doesn't have any interest in getting back into it either.
So if they hear some no's, I brought this guy up a little bit earlier in the program, and they get, Dan Hurley says, no, I love it here at UConn. Billy Donovan doesn't want to leave NBA and go back to college basketball. They don't want to do the buyout on Nate Oates. Would they go down that path of maybe picking up the phone and talking to Chris Beard?
I sort of doubt it, just because of Chris Beard's background and what happened with him in Texas. That doesn't seem to me like anything that Mitch Barnhart would go for.
Yeah.
And not saying that Mitch. There'll be other people. Mitch will work with other people here, Dr. Capilouto and other people here, to make the decision about who the coach would be. I sort of doubt Chris Beard, but who knows if they have several people tell him no. Maybe Chris would be in consideration. I do think he's a really good coach, but I think in the circumstances of which he left Texas would probably keep him from being high on the list at Kentucky.
Totally fair. So I think we agree here, at least on this show, that Dan Hurley would be the absolute home run hire here. When do you think they make an announcement, and who would you make as the favorite right now to get the job?
I think they need to make the announcement as soon as possible, because I think there's a really good chance Cal has five let's put it this way, highly regarded recruits coming in, but there's already talk that those guys will leave with Calipari to go to Arkansas. That's what happened when he came from Memphis to Kentucky. He brought his Memphis recruits with him, including John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. So I think a similar scenario. And way the transfer portal now, they need to make a move as quickly as possible. I mean, obviously you need to hire the right coach, but you need to hire him as quickly as possible. Boy, it's really hard to say. I would say that Scott Drew is the favorite, just because that's the name that we have heard for the last couple of years. Okay. When really, maybe even since the St. Peter's game, that if things continue to go the way they are going and there ended up being a separation, he'd be the guy, but we'll see.
Well, you are in for a wild couple of days here, John. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. You can read John in the Kentucky Herald Leader. Follow him on X. He's at John Clay V. Up next, we'll recap the betting action from the weekend and win some, lose some.
Last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
We mentioned this Saturday on the special Follow the Money show from Scottsdale. Friday in the NBA was drunk. Hornets plus 550 on the money line. Spurs plus 475. Raptors 8-1. All outright. Bucks lost again. Pelicans lost. Magic lost. In games they had to have. Couldn't win the game.
Did the Bucks still need to have these games?
Oh, this is getting good, right? Oh, Braves. Friday, 260 up to 320, won 6-5. South Carolina women opened 4.5, closed 7.5 against Iowa. How about a guy here, the Shoe, made the game 13. Good for him. Fell 13. If you read that, vsin.com. How about this with the Final Four games? Caitlin Clark to have more points than Zach Edey was minus 350. Well, she got there, but it was 21-20.
Oh, we talked about that.
Yeah. UConn shut her down, but she still got there because Edey only had 20 in the win over NC State.
Wow.
Most points in the NC State-Purdue game. Dead heat. Edey was 275, but Edey and Horn both had 20. Most points Saturday was Sears, plus 350 for Alabama. The last 5 second halves in Glendale have gone under. Something to keep in mind tonight. And I told you Liverpool would punt a game. This race in the Premier League is nuts. Liverpool, Man U, draw plus 380. Arsenal now in the driver's seat with goal differential. They're tied with Liverpool. Man City is a point back. Luton Town plus 285. They beat Bournemouth. Aston Villa, Brentford, draw plus 330. Chelsea, Sheffield United, draw plus 550. It happened again. It wasn't a league game. That's why it wasn't on my radar. I missed it. But Peterborough United played, and they went over 2.5 again. It's a 33-5 run. They play Wednesday. As Walter says, it's a league game.
How'd you
Big
miss
Lebowski. I don't know, some EFL trophy game. I don't know. Anyways, it was a 2-1 final. Damn. We'll get them Wednesday. Don't worry about it. Sheffield Wednesday, Championship League plus 375 beat QPR. League 2, Crawley Town plus 470 beat James Mansfield's Town. Swindon Town plus 350. And Bundesliga. They're not winning the league. It's over. They barely packed it in. Heidenheim plus 620 beat Bayern Munich. Wild. Lose some. Now, what was this? All week, the game's 12. And then right before tip, people are taking 11 and a half, 11 and 10 and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
What was that? Guys, you could have took 12 all week with Alabama. Then you take 11 and 10 and a half? That didn't make any sense.
Are those steam chasers? I think it was more than that because it was a gradual drop.
Yeah, close
there was no news like a player's going to miss for UConn.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really buying into this flight thing. A little bit late to the party on that.
Yeah, right. Okay. White Sox 1-8. Miami Marlins 1-9. So far, some lose some. How about this? This is right up your alley, too, with your wife's background. A chef tweeted this. A customer orders $160 of food to go. He pays online for pickup. He never comes and gets the food. He calls and demands a refund. Says if we don't, they'll dispute the charge. Doesn't give a reason for not picking it up. Decided he wanted food elsewhere.
Well, no, he's 100% wrong.
Well, no kidding.
No,
Tell him to go to hell.
I can't imagine a scenario where that would play out where he's going to win.
All the threads say dispute the charge, and it won't happen again. But this is, come on, man. Are people the worst or what?
Oh, of course they are.
You got to prepare the food. You got to make you got to eat it. You got to sit there and I got to take the loss. I'm just going to dispute the charge. I don't want to. I decided to go somewhere else and get food elsewhere.
My guess is that person has done it before, though. He probably does it at several
true.
restaurants, does it, and then doesn't go back to them.
People don't understand that you paid for the food, paid to have it prepped, paid to have it cooked, paid for someone to put it in a box, paid for the box, paid for someone to bag it, processing fees, and paid taxes on it. Requesting a chargeback's disgraceful. Totally agree. God.
I don't know what the payoff should be on this guy, but it should be something bad.
Yep.
Like I don't know. You got to get dinged.
Yep. Karma. Caitlin Clark scored more points this season than Iowa football scored during her time as a Hawkeye. 1,234 to 1,028. Yeah. Not surprised. Not surprised. Nope. And this
I'm surprised it was that close.
Okay. And this was all over social media after the games. This is at mid-major. I might as well just walk back to Scottsdale where we were staying. The Uber fees to go from the stadium back to your hotel, it was 11 minutes. It was $150. 9 minutes away, $135. You want the black SUV? $228.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Oh, gouging people.
The definition of the surge pricing, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That is wild. And some bad beats, of course. How about Friday? The wind was howling out at Coors. Rays Rockies under 12.5. 9 runs in the 9th inning to put it over. A 5 in the top and a 4, a walk-off grand slam in the bottom for the Rockies. 9 runs in the 9th inning. You got to hate yourself to bet baseball.
So that's Friday after our show is over with. That's when we found out the forecast was going to be like the winds were absolutely just blowing out big time. I'm like, okay, I'll take a dab on the over 12.5. I gave up on the game. Had no chance to win it.
Yep.
Well, it's Coors, so crazy things can happen. But that's overall,
that's absurd. Yep. And Whiskey and Revolver in the NBA. I lost on both of these. Cavs money line.
Oh.
They led the Clippers in the third quarter by 26 points. They lost the game. I was betting in play, too. They had 80 points at halftime.
Yeah.
I think they had 38 in the second half. And Kawhi Leonard didn't play again. And Paul George was awesome down the stretch, but come on. Up 26 in the middle of the third quarter, you lose. Well, and I had the stinking Rockets. Plus 9.5. They went to overtime. The Mavs covered, but it was the finish.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Mavs hit a 3 at the buzzer to go to overtime.
There's 20 seconds left. I'll go quick. There's 20 seconds left. The Rockets have the ball. They're up 2. They foul Van Vliet. He splits the free throws. Kyrie misses a 3. They get the rebound. For whatever reason, they get the ball to Jabari. Which, why would you go to a young guy there? Trust the veteran. He's not even close on both free throws with 8 seconds left. But Dallas is out of timeouts. You have Luka and Kyrie, and Udoka doesn't foul. 3 at the buzzer, right in my eye. Of course it's going in.
Of course
You've got to foul up 3. Come on. It's common sense. So anyways, they blow them out in overtime, and they cover.
I'll give you one where I got carried out on yesterday. Cavaliers, when they were blowing out the Clippers, I told myself, well, I love this spot now for the Suns. They probably see the score. You were calling it 99. I'm like, the Suns can win this division.
Yeah, because they have the home and home coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
They play twice this week.
I know.
Clippers lose this game. Suns win today. They're going to be right there with them. They can pull this off. I bet Suns money line. They're blowing them out in the first quarter. Then I think they got wind. The Clippers came back to win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll admit that. Who knows? I'm speculating here, but it's like they found out, oh my God, Clippers came back to win. Forget it now.
Good point. Yeah, good call. DraftKings Sportsbook, the best sportsbook app, giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. Download the app, use promo code VEASAN when you sign up.
All right, I'm pretty convinced that John Clay, who joined us 10 minutes ago, just moved a betting market. And that is next head coach at Kentucky. I'm sitting here with the screen up in front of me. Globally speaking, there was a spot that had Scott Drew 4-1 moments ago. Mm-hmm. He's now even money.
Wow.
That's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Nate Oates 3-1. Richard Pitino just went from 3-1 to 7-1.
Oh, come on.
If they hire that guy, just
they'd
burn down the program.
They'd riot. Did not go well at Minnesota.
Billy Donovan's 9-1. Mark Pope is 10-1. Kelvin Sampson 12-1. Would you reach out to him?
I don't know if I'd want it if I were him for other reasons.
Listen to some of the names here behind Kelvin Sampson on the betting board. Sean Miller.
Oh, God.
Jamie.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is the Painter thing again. Why I disagree with this guy. If you underachieve 9 years out of 10, you're an underachiever. Just because you made the Final Four. Sean Miller did this every year.
Yeah.
So, like, if Sean Miller one of those years would have made it to the Final Four with Arizona, he still did a bad job. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing if you lose and go out early and get out coached every year and against mid-majors, it's like you're still an underachiever.
What are we doing with some of the names on the odds board? Jamie Dixon is 16-1.
Oh, God. Come on.
Chris Beard's 18. Patino's 20. That's Rick Pitino. Shaka Smart's 20. TJ Otzelberger, you mentioned him briefly earlier.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's 25. Bruce Pearl, Will Wade, Anthony Hardaway, Dan Hurley, and Jay Wright are all 25-1.
Hurley's 25-1?
Yeah.
Come on. That's outrageous.
How about this?
They're going to double his salary.
What about this for betting angle tonight? Wheels are in motion. Kentucky, I'm speculating here. Kentucky's talking to Dan Hurley's reps. Distraction tonight for the game. Maybe he's interested in the Kentucky job.
Not that guy. He's a lunatic. No way.
John Crispin on the show up next. We'll get his thoughts on Calipari to Arkansas. What? And how does Purdue cover and or pull off the upset tonight?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
For a limited time, we're offering 2 weeks of our exclusive betting splits for free. Just sign up, vsin.com/splits. It's updated with DraftKings odds every 5 minutes. You can check out future events as well. Limited time offer, vsin.com/splits. Get your free 2-week access to the betting splits.
What a busy day this has turned into, and what a busy week it's going to be. Not only do we have the national title game tonight, obviously, but then the John Calipari news dropped last night out of nowhere, taking the Arkansas job. And joining us now on the Progressive guest line is John Crispin. Does a great job as an analyst on ESPN and also Westwood One. John, thanks so much for the time today. Your overall thoughts on what took place last night. I'm sure that you were probably stunned when you first saw the one report, thinking it was maybe even a joke.
Yes. Look, I was a little surprised, but then once I realized, okay, this is real, it makes sense. You know, it really does. It makes sense. You know, I think he's run out of equity there at Kentucky, and I understand why. Like, people have been sold things for a while. They've been sold, hey, if you put this money into the program, this is what you're going to get in return. Well, the ROI hasn't been that great, and the expectations at Kentucky are high, as they should be. And when you have talent year in, year out that's worth showing up for and worth buying tickets for, you expect to see that team play well into March, and that hasn't been the case. And I just think, look, the game is changing, and it's not changing in the sense that we're just paying players. It's not just about the name, image, and likeness. It's this portal stuff. It's this utter free agency. There's no continuity in college basketball, and that means you got to be a different kind of teacher. It's a different kind of teacher that can teach just enough to make you proficient at what you need to do. Not want to do, but need to do, right? There are your must-dos. you've got to be a really good teacher of your must-dos. And then you have to be able to teach guys along the way how to play instinctually, how to find the game. And I think it's a different type of coach that's going to be able to succeed in this world. I really do. And this is not a knock to old coaches, guys that have been around the game forever. But if you think about the game they came in under, it was a controlled game where it was about the plays you could set up and run and execute. And that's how you won games. And could you defend? Nowadays, it's like, how can you give guys just enough to be really good? That's it. Like, how can you train them like a European professional team where year in, year out, they're going to be completely different?
Yeah.
How can you get them to find it sooner in the season? How can you get them to adjust to a game on their own without having to overcoach it? I see Cal overcoaching a lot. I see Cal as the guy at times going, grab the ball. And it's like, well, of course, everybody wants to grab, but what else do we do with it? Like, there's a lot there. And I think he ran out of equity. And I think it's probably the right time for a fresh start. And it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for him to really get something rolling in Arkansas, and if it looks any different than what he did at Kentucky.
What would you do if you're making that decision at Kentucky?
I mean, probably call Nate Oates. Because here's the deal. You got to be fun. Like, in the world today, your best recruiter is how you play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody that could get anybody, to me, it's the Nate Oates style, because every kid under the sun, even the big slow kids want to shoot threes. Even the 7-footers want to shoot threes. Everybody wants to be a guard. And oh, by the way, the more threes you shoot, the easier it's going to be for a big to play. Why? Space. You got more space on the floor. So I think that's a great style, and I think he'd be able to get high-level players. And frankly, I think they'd win at a high level. I think he's actually a good teacher of the game, and a lot of his teaching is in practice. So when it comes game time, they just go out and ball. I think that's what makes them so much fun.
Yeah. We just had John Clay on from the Lexington Herald Leader. He said that, in his opinion, Scott Drew is the leader as of right now in the clubhouse, or the favorite to get the job. What would you think of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if Scott Drew would really take that job.
Okay.
I mean, just understanding who he is and what he's about. And again, like, this means absolutely nothing, because who you think someone is and what you think they're all about, that often changes in the world today pretty quickly. But I just feel like Scott Drew's in the perfect place for Scott Drew. It's a terrific program. It's a good, smaller community. It just kind of suits him. At the same time, do you want the pressure and expectation to have to do whatever it takes necessary to win at Kentucky? I don't know if you want to do that for Scott Drew. If you're a culture guy that built that program the way he did, I don't know. Now, I'm weird, though, because I would be someplace that I liked and I would never leave. I have this weird thing that most don't have. It's called contentment. And I understand that's what makes guys competitive. I just think Kentucky's such a unique job. Like, it's almost as if the coach has to be bigger than the program for it to be the right coach. And it's a weird thing to say, but like St. John's, I said the same thing about St. John's. Like, you got to hire someone bigger than the program for it to be, worth hiring somebody. Same goes for Indiana. The only way they get out of bed is if they get Brad Stevens. You know what I mean? It's like every time that job comes up, they say somebody like, oh, Brad Stevens. I'm like, why don't you throw friggin' Phil Jackson in the mix? Like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, it's unbelievable. The level of, like, a local narcissism when it comes to your program. It's like, well, what is the reality? And what is the real perceptions of that job in the world today? That's the other part that we don't think about. How much has the world changed with NIL and the portal and wherever the heck we're going with it, which is likely in the wrong direction. And then what does that job look like then? And can you really be competitive year in, year out to the level that Kentucky and Kentucky fans expect? That's. I wonder if it's even as good of a job as we think it is.
Good answer. Very interesting thoughts there. Are you going to lose your mind if they expand, or when they expand the tournament? 72, 78 teams?
Yeah, I'm only going to lose my mind because I feel like it's just filled with cowardice, right? It's like, hey, we were trying to convince you for so long that we're not about the money, but now business is done above the table. We'll just accept that it's about the money, and we'll try to get even more of it. No, by the way, I think a big piece of this has to do with the likelihood that we're going to have super conferences. And we know this is going to happen. It's going to happen in football, and whatever happens in football, basketball wants to be like football because football's king, and everybody wants to shoot for the king. Like, this is what we do. So basketball is going to end up with a bunch of super conferences. Well, it makes sense that they would expand the tournament to have more teams from the super conferences because we're not comfortable with 10, 11, 12, 13 teams from one conference being in the NCAA field. So what do? we expand the tournament. I think that's just a natural progression to things. I also think it's silly and nonsensical, but it likely leads us back to probably a more rational place down the road. It'll take us a while to get there, but eventually we'll get to the point where we go, okay, wait a second. The tournament was good where it was. Money was perfect. Not everybody has the value that they think they have. We're going to get back to who we once were once we realize that all these crazy endeavors, the things that we're changing and trying to take on, they just fail miserably in the end.
Yeah, well said. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, John Crispin, analyst for ESPN and Westwood One Sports during the tournament. He's on the Progressive guest line. We have about 3 minutes here, John, remaining. We've been, trying to make a case against UConn, playing in a close game. Can they even play in a close game? And it's just been all for naught, right? Will they play in a close game tonight? Can Purdue actually make this interesting?
I think it'll be interesting for a while. I could see it being interesting for 30, 35 minutes. The problem is UConn is so good in late game situations. They're so good at just spacing you out and finding whatever one of the 5 options is best. They're really good at that. And I think the thing is, just consider this. Purdue's strength is obviously Zach Edey. That's their go-to. That's a tougher adjustment to start the game. Where UConn's going to have to adjust to this mountain of a man that's on the floor, and then all the things that come off of that, that's a little bit longer of an adjustment, whereas Purdue's got to adjust to good balance on the floor. That's an easier adjustment within the game. Now, once the game's played, that cumulative effect of having to defend 5 around the perimeter, outside in, the way UConn can attack you, and then keep guys off the glass the way that UConn rebounds from the guard position on the offensive end, that cumulative effect, I think, will take over. And then at the end, UConn just is so good in late game situations, and that's where I trust them the most. It's probably like a 10, 12-point game, in my opinion, but what do I know? I've been wrong the whole tournament.
Why, have you been trying to make a case against UConn as well?
No, I had them pick to win, but it's pretty much every other choice that I made, I guess. Yeah. There's way too much logic and reason applied to the NCAA tournament. Don't do that. Just be emotional. Why not?
There you go. That's and go with your heart more than anything else. I mean, let's be fair here, though. The Alabama game was, to your point, right? That was 56 apiece with 12 minutes to play.
Yep. That's the way it goes. And the thing is, that game created a rhythm that eventually UConn found. And once they found it, they understood the moments where they needed to stop, and they understood the moments where they needed to continue the pace, right? There are times where the tempo and the pace is great, and you say, oh, wow, this favors maybe Alabama. Well, it's like once your opponent finds it, they know how to take you out of it and adjust the game. It's pretty remarkable to see UConn play, I got to tell you that.
Yeah, you can follow John on X. He's at John Crispin ESPN. That was an awesome spot today, John. Pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for your time today. Enjoy the game tonight.
Hey, my pleasure. You guys too.
Thank you.
There you go.
Well
he
done.
joined us on the Progressive guest line.
No, he's right. Those are all excellent points. At the end about UConn and at the beginning about how great is this job. Well, the money's nice.
That's wild.
Am I better off at a Waco, or am I better off? I mean, I have to go to the Elite Eight every year,
right?
Or a Final Four. It's like it's championship or bust. Final Four or bust.
Unique spot to be in.
Yeah.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Bruce Marshall on the show up next. One more appearance for the final game tonight. His thoughts overall on Calipari going to Arkansas, and what does he make now of the number where it's at tonight between UConn and Purdue?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Get ready to tee it off with a special Masters edition of Long Shots this Tuesday, 11 p.m. Eastern. Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, Kelly Bidlin break down the field, analyze best bets and props. Whether you're a seasoned golf bettor just getting into the game, the expert panel will provide insights and strategies to help you make informed betting decisions. Long Shots Tuesday, 11 p.m. Don't miss out. VSiN.com/Masters. One more go around with Bruce Marshall at Bruce A. Marshall on X, CBS Sports Line. Come on to talk national title game. He have his thoughts and opinions on the game. First of all, you're around SEC country as well. How about this news? Calipari has upstaged the championship game. Can you believe this as he takes the Arkansas job?
I know. Can you believe that? By the way, quick clarification on my part for Ron Flatter and his fans. Ron, of course, knows Secretariat lost those 3 races in 73. He's one of the best horse race guys I know, and he did once interview Bo Derek, for which I always envy him. The closest I could get to Bo Derek is if there's an empty middle seat next to me on a Southwest flight and she happens to sit in it. Only the last time that happened, a guy who looked like Flatter sat next to me. So anyway, there you go. Yeah, Calipari, that came out of nowhere because I had talked to guys who were very tight in with Arkansas. They were thinking Chris Beard was going to be the guy, and they had a whole scenario where Beard would leave and Will Wade would probably go in there to Ole Miss to replace Beard.
Yeah.
This Calipari thing happened kind of late. We did hear it would wait until the weekend was done, that even Keats's name was one that was brought up. But Calipari, this was a late development. Nobody I knew down there mentioned about that until that news broke last night. So that really is out of left field. But going to happen, it looks like.
This really is wild how it's what have you done for me lately? Because apparently with the boosters that matter, they were sick of Musselman, who just went Elite Eight, Sweet 16 in one bad year. But now you're going to a guy who's had one tournament win in the last 4 years and underachieved time and time again with NBA talent. So, like Mitch said earlier, be careful what you wish for. Or are you saying the same thing maybe about Kentucky? Now they have a big up, but certainly Kentucky's got a ton of money behind them and can throw 8, 9, 10 million a year at whoever the guy's going to be.
Well, you're right. And what we had heard this year, too, is there were some nil issues at Arkansas this year. And that was one of the reasons that team had a very uneven performance pattern. And that sort of contributed to Muss, although, his shelf life has, been about 4 or 5 years at a school anyway.
That's true.
Calipari, I can understand Calipari wanting to do this because the pressure had built up so much at Kentucky. And he gets to start the contract clock all over again. But you're right. I mean, his teams have been underachieving a lot in the last few years, so and has not achieved as much as Musselman's teams did. So we'll see how that works out. Of course, the opening at Kentucky is going to be the big news here, and where that goes, various directions, but it'll be a big name they go for, and they will stop at nothing to get the guy they want. I'm thinking it might be Bruce Pearl because I don't think Donovan will say yes, but we will see.
What do you think about Nate Oates?
It could be Oates too. They're going to have to really break the bank because Oates is getting paid a lot now at Alabama, and I'm not sure he would want to go, but maybe he does. I mean, you go from a football school to a definite basketball school, so I think Oates would do it. But I have a feeling it would be harder to pry Oates away than it would Pearl. Just my own thought, but Oates would be there. Oates, Scott Drew, they will call Billy Donovan up. I don't think he would say yes, but it'll be in that that sort of caliber coach.
All right, thoughts on the game tonight, and we mentioned the all show long here about the unders since they had the Final Four here, and in 2017, all 5 games the second half have gone under. What do you make of the total 145.5?
Yeah, that stuff, Pauly, that's staring us straight in the face here with these unders. And the second half unders, the UConn unders, it's now, for the full game, that's now 6 straight for UConn. It's 9 of the last 10 this season. And it's the defense, and it's not just Klingon. Of course, we know what he does and how he can close down the key. It's all this length they have out there in the wings. I mean, all these guys, 6'4" to 6'8", when they put Caravan out there like they're going to do tonight. It's just hard to shoot over these guys, and they are really in your face. And I think that's really the strength of this UConn defense. They really match up very well out on the perimeter. And Purdue's not really that big across the perimeter. So, and the fact Klingon will probably be able to they can stick him. He's not going to need any help against Edey. And this sort of negates that Purdue thing that Matt Painter did this year, just spread the floor with shooters around Edey the same way Mike Budenholzer did with Giannis a few years ago to win the NBA title. Giannis and Edey aren't the same player, but the concept is the same. The key, I think, tonight is going to be if Klingon gets in foul trouble, as capable as Samson Johnson is as a backup, he is not going to be able to handle Edey by himself. So that would change the dynamic a bit. And so that's something you'd watch quick whistles. I remember a final once when the big publicized big man battle. It was Ewing against Olajuwon in the '84 final, Houston-Georgetown, and fouls. Olajuwon got in foul trouble really, really quick, and it changed the whole course of that game. So that's the one X factor I'd watch at that. And that's the only thing I think that might slow UConn down if that happened, but it could. We'll see.
Okay. So best bet overall on the game tonight would be
under,
what?
I would say under, and maybe even, wait for that second half under. But for right now, for the full game, under mid 140s. I mean, UConn games, even Alabama couldn't get over the other day.
Yeah.
Under would be my first call. Maybe a slight way. If you can get 7.5 on Purdue, this team is 34-4 this year. If you can get that, I think that might be secondary here. But under would be my first call.
Great job, sir. Thanks for coming on during the entire season. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
Enjoy the game tonight, guys. Thanks.
You too.
Thank you.
Be good.
That's under the radar, no doubt. Everyone's talking about the 11 in a row straight up in ATS in the tournament, rightfully so. But that's every game has gone under, and 9 of 10. 9-1 under run for the game with UConn.
During the commercial break, I took Purdue +4. So shop around. You can find that out there. I thought John Crispin had some good
First
points.
half.
What did I say?
You said +4, but
First half.
first half, yeah.
Yeah, first half.
Yeah.
What John Crispin said 15 minutes ago made a lot of sense, and it's kind of the same thing with the Alabama game from Saturday, is where Bama hung with that team for a lot of it. Again, that's tied at 56, 12 minutes to play. UConn still covered. Just think, so at some point they go on runs, they figure the team out. Like, this could be a tricky matchup because of Edey down low, and you're going to get an inflated number here because the game is 6.5 or 7 right now. Maybe there's a 7.5 to pop. But because of UConn's power rating overall, Ken Pom makes the game 2. Torvik makes the game 2. Tyler Shoemaker here at VSiN makes the game 3. You can grab the +4 at first half. I don't know. This seems like it's a really, really big number for the first 20 minutes. So I'll take my chances here where it might be difficult for UConn to get a read on Edey right away in the game. And then, it's closer before they actually pull away and make adjustments because Hurley's so good at that. You got to see this. So you went as Bobby Petrino for Halloween.
Yes.
Okay. And it was a great outfit. And you looked exactly like the guy. So this is what Pauly looked like. Exactly like Bobby Petrino. You had the old SEC football hat?
No, that's All-State Sugar Bowl.
All-State Sugar Bowl. Okay,
yeah.
I can't see
after
from
the
here.
accident. All-State Sugar. I actually found the exact hat.
Arkansas football, the neck brace, the bloody face.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, right?
Uh-huh.
Whoever did this is unbelievable because that's John Calipari as Bobby Petrino in the neck brace.
That is good. They're different over there. Woo, Pig Suey.
Oh, yeah.
They do all that. The press conference is going to be something. I can't wait. And he is, say what you want about him, he's a salesman.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll kill it. He'll win the press conference now. He'll lose to a mid-major early in the tournament, but he'll win the press conference. So this is theater of absurd here. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
that is awesome. Coming in. Now, it's funny because of now Petrino he left the Falcons in the middle of the night and took the Arkansas job.
He did.
That's what he did.
So almost similar there.
Oh,
or came out of nowhere. Didn't see it happening.
He left like a note to his players. I don't even think he said goodbye. Petrino. So
I wonder when more books put up numbers for next year's national championship, where do they open up Arkansas? Again, DraftKings had 70-1 last night. And as soon as this move was made, they bumped him down to 40. I would take 70 in a heartit.
Sure. Well, he's going to get all those guys are going to follow him.
I talked about
plus
this
he's got a $5 million, $6 million NIL to play with.
He's going to have equal talent that he's had at Kentucky over the years, and you could never ever find that number when he was the coach. So it's a numbers thing here. That's all it is. But I'm guessing that most books, when they reopen, maybe that's today or tomorrow on this, they're not going to open Arkansas 40-1 or 50-1. I don't think.
Yeah.
All right. What are we talking about tomorrow on the show?
UConn wins and covers.
Okay.
Repeat. Yeah. Why not?
So it's going to be this sets up the year in basketball of all chalk then.
Right.
South Carolina, UConn, and then we'll see what the NBA, maybe Nuggets and Celtics.
Hurley wins, and he's asked about the Kentucky job.
And he takes it. Oh, boy. A numbers game is next. You can listen at vsin.com.